it's unpleasant, and your true character is kind of tested at this time as well, and the way you handle things. So I take pride in the fact that we always kind of, there's business and then there's kind of human relationships.
Yeah.
So we're still in great terms with all former Starberry alumni, and that's kind of a thing to strive for, that treat people with respect and part with in good terms, even in difficult times.
Hi, I am Sophie Vu, and this is the Rise and Play podcast. In the show, I sit down with influential thought leaders in the gaming industry to deconstruct how they create the best teams and company cultures in order to create the best games. Speaking to hundreds of game executives in the show, I have identified recurring patterns and mistakes that we all make in our leadership journey. Do you have to go through the same hurdles and make the same mistakes to learn too? You are not alone in this journey, and hopefully you can learn from a diverse range of seasoned leaders who already walk the talk. Every episode brings actionable insights and case studies that will help you improve your management skills, self-awareness, and empathic communication. Becoming a better leader starts with becoming a better human. Are you ready to unlock your full potential in life and business? Let's begin. Welcome everyone to a new episode of Rise and Play. We have an episode today from Starberry Games, which may look like we are in Finland.
Oh yeah.
But so we were in the heart of Friedrichshain in Berlin. And today, super happy to be with Antti, that I know for many years, to talk about the journey of Starberry Games and 7 years of Starberry Games in the studio.
Great, yeah, thanks for the invite. Super happy to have the chat.
Yes. So the context as well, how we know each other, because we also were at Wooga before, and I have worked also with you, and when you were also running the studio, I think at the time it was Boson Studio?
Pocket Studio at that point.
Pocket Studio, right. In 2015, I think it was 2015 to 2016, I was joining your studio and leading Jelly Splash. So for people who haven't known of Jelly Splash, big hit from Wooga with a linker at the time, good timing as well in market to be linker match free.
Yeah, I can't believe it's almost 10 years. I actually saw someone playing Jelly Splash in an airplane. We went to London a couple of weeks ago with the family. I took my iPhone and I started zooming and took a photo of the lady playing Jelly Splash. And then the kind of attendant mentioned to her that, hey, like, what's going on? You're taking a photo. But then I mentioned that, hey, actually, I worked on the game. It's something we're proud of. And yeah, that was great to see that it's still relevant game. Someone's playing it, enjoying. So.
I'm sure it is. I think it's still on the store. But let's begin with the start before you started Starberry Games, for people who don't know you, because I do know, and I'm pretty sure people from the community of the Finnish entrepreneurs, I call it, like now I know quite many of you, having spent years in Finland. But yeah, what has been your background even before you joined Wooga, as a reminder, and at the time of Wooga, before even you founded Starberry?
Yeah, I guess my mobile games journey started 20 years ago when I had a chance to program games at the University of Helsinki or the technical university. A friend did his internship at Nokia. We got our hands on this Symbian 60 phone 3650 with a quirky circle size keyboard. We had studied some C++ and were able to then do a coursework and said, okay, we're going to make a game run on this mobile phone. And that was kind of, very inspiring. I was always doing games for schoolwork, having learned programming there, and then actually making a mobile phone game run was quite, we were very proud of that. So we made Asteroids run on it, on the game, on the phone. And after that, it only took a year and stars to align that I kind of got hired at Digital Chocolate. So I was there for 7 years. I went from production assistant to VP product management. It was quite a journey with a team in Helsinki. So working in product management with great guys. And well, that's where I, for example, met Miska. And it's 2011 when then we moved to Berlin, took the job at Wooga, head of studio. And that run lasted for 5 years, which was also amazing people. So really nice opportunity to work with Ilkka at Digital Chocolate, learn a bunch of things, and then also with Jens at Wooga. So so I can't complain. I've had great supervisors or managers for, I guess 12 years of my career.
So let's go back to 2017 when you left Wooga. So I also was in Finland at the time. That was funny when I went to Rovio. And in the meantime, I knew that there was a wave also of people living and building the new things, and you were part of it. What was happening at the time that you felt was the right time for you to fund your company? And it was also at a time where maybe I was not as crazy at 2019, 20 with all the funding. And what did you have in mind that you wanted to create that you couldn't do either at Wooga or another company?
Yeah, I guess that starts a bit earlier already with Yami from Finland, who was at Rovio, I guess maybe just before you. And I think he asked the question that, do you have a goal of finding a startup sometime in your life before you die? And if the answer is yes, then what are you waiting for? And I just loved his way of asking the question. And I think he also is a fairly analytical guy that said that, well, it's not about then rushing into it. It's if you've decided, then you start observing for the right time and the right moment. So this is I think that the mentality, that was the switch. And then after 2015, I was more looking for the opportunity or open for it. Not necessarily actively doing too much about it at that time. And of course, maybe that started the thinking process that seeing all these friends and colleagues from Digital Chocolate already have a go at it. So it was already something that felt normal. Really good learnings from Jens at Wooga. So running a studio was a very good practice run of setting up a startup, a lot of independence. And I think all of these build a lot of confidence. And I'm also reserved or a careful guy, in terms of planning and things. So I really needed all of that time to build up the confidence that, okay, I'm ready for this. I've had the chance. So I think it's having or being fortunate to be in this situation that was there for Wooga and had the chance to operate independently. So good environment. So these were the foundations, the motivation that, okay, I want to do this. Then I think a good I still call it a kick in the butt. So Wooga ended up stopping the Pocket Studio and I was also impacted and that was a great timing to then check that, okay, well, what now? Still, I think it needed a few other things to happen, like a right timing, opportunity with the platform. iMessage games were a thing at that time. Facebook had a conference. I had the time in my hand, figuring what I'm going to be doing next. We were moving apartments here. And so I was then, I heard about Facebook conference in Berlin, ended up going there and sat next to an ex-Wooga person, Edgar. And I said, hey, yeah, this iMessage is cool, casual and social, turn-based gaming. This is something that I already had wanted to do at Wooga as a game, because I think there's something good with this virality and social, casual connecting. And then I mentioned it to Edgar, who said at the conference, well, actually, you need to keep your eyes open. We're doing something here at Facebook. And so I think also the platform opportunity happened. So I learned about the messenger games at that point. Then, of course, a lot of thanks to Eva. She was now at this stage the breadwinner in the family and paying the rent. So I had almost no excuses of not giving a go for a startup. So yeah, I think it's a gradual process, and then just so many things aligning that even the most careful person is actually then ready to take the leap. In addition, then Adam from Wooga, met with him. He had the aspiration. So also then getting a buddy to join the adventure.
Adam Telfer.
Yes, Adam Telfer.
So I forgot, but it's true that he joined early days.
Yeah. So we already met in 2016. Then right after I think went to the Facebook conference, and we were keeping in touch with Adam. So I met with him and he said, hey, yeah, this is a time to find a startup. This is a great opportunity, and he's in, and if we're doing it. And at that stage, with just the deck, you weren't raising rounds. So we were more seeing the opportunity to actually do this no matter what. Yeah. And luckily he had, so I had the fortunate position that the rent was paid by Eva, and then Adam had this consultancy. So we were ready to go for bootstrapping as well.
I also appreciate the mentality, maybe starting humble, small, or, hustling in a way with bootstrapping, because then it influences the choice you make at the beginning to make yourself sustainable, as long as possible, going for the opportunities, being flexible.
Yeah, there's a lot of learnings in let's say operating with limited budget. So I guess things that might not be kind of something that we made a lot of PR about, but we did some work for hire for huge games to earn money for the company. So managing the thing kind of cash then, and it's kind of a good experience to learn. And then I think maybe that's the difference to back then and one of the mental models that we always wanted to ship a game as fast as possible. It's a big risk, and I think for the recent few years it's kind of been the opposite, that you don't necessarily want to ship a game. You don't want to take the risk. You want to show KPIs to raise more money to then prepare for the grand kind of a launch. Somehow it reminds me kind of where it kind of also ended up with Wooga. Instead of being fast and iterating and shipping games, you kind of wanted to build as big as, ambitions grew. So you wanted to build the biggest product and have no excuse of kind of all the features in. So then everything gets delayed and longer. So instead of kind of going at it with testing early, or even launching early and then kind of growing it from there. And it's a big risk, because the one question in your mind is, what if this fails? We ship this game, it doesn't do anything, but if we keep on working, maybe it has less chance of failing. I would say maybe it's kind of now the pendulum is swung back into this model where it's maybe a good idea to ship early and then kind of learn from the lessons when you ship a game. So.
And did you start then on iMessage Games? I knew of Idle Coffee Corp, but what happened before?
We were building mini golf for Instant Messenger. That was the first thing, and iMessage as well. Yeah. So I think, of course, for bootstrapping and kind of maybe like this fast launch strategy, new platforms are great, because the bar is not that high. So it's kind of not necessarily apples and oranges when you compare someone shooting it for the mobile market now, because the barrier is extremely high. And so I think there are opportunities with kind of these different avenues, new platforms or distribution ways that I think are kind of the fit ones for small teams. So we were building mini golf. I had done many mini golf games at Digital Chocolate before. Mini golf was something that casual audience loved. Pool was one of the biggest hits on iMessage and I think also on Messenger. So that was my kind of fairly short amount of market analysis that, let's go with mini golf. It's worked before. We can make it a multiplayer game. Turns out, I don't think it works great as a multiplayer game. So maybe more thought would have been great at that point and kind of learning. But yeah, we also ended up raising the pre-seed at the end of 2017. So with Adam, we were already pitching after setting up the company and kind of, even though bootstrapping, but talking to investors and kind of seeing what's out there. We just liked it more and more. So ended up kind of thinking that, we'll need to search for the funding so we can build this into something. And I think we didn't have too much runway. Kind of, we thought to give it time until end of 2017. And then kind of all the things came into place at Slush 2017, where I managed to sign the pre-seed round of $325,000 for the company at the Sauna Society in Helsinki after the Slush.
So cheap. Deals are signed in the sauna.
Yeah, so that was with Reactor and Anton and then a good bunch of angels. So after that, we managed to then learn that, okay, mini golf's not going to be the thing. And then Samir and Jeremy joined the company. We were able to pay a salary. And then we kind of approached the platform with new enthusiasm. Let's do something for it. We shipped Guess What Hidden Pictures, Oddballs. So we actually had, and maybe something else as well, but we had this chance to actually iterate and ship games and learn. Didn't take off. And it was kind of a midpoint of 2018 when we went to a Facebook conference again. We kind of, luckily with Adam, we had thought we need to see something that there's actually support for small developers and this seems viable for us to continue. And all of these things were lacking at that conference. So then we came back to Berlin and told that, yeah, I think this is not going to work, the platform for us. We need to pivot. And so that's the start of Idle Coffee Corp. So we sat down, what can we do? We have 9 months of runway, and Idle Games was something Samir had experience with. So it was kind of one of the candidates. We looked at, I think, .io games, these things. And yeah, that's what happened before Idle Coffee, and that's when Idle Coffee started.
Something I see here in the choice you made, like it was exploring opportunistically a new platform, because competing directly with the big mobile companies, maybe not the best way to start. Yeah. So it's for like looking on competitive advantage. So like being a fast mover, that could be the advantage. Also building on your strength for affinity, right? Because this is how also you chose the Idle, because you have to start from somewhere. And if you pick a new market, what is it as a team you have that maybe others don't have competitively, that you would have more odds, to succeed, or really something that will be bigger?
True. Yeah, maybe to tie the last point as well, that so all of the games we shipped on Messenger failed. Like they didn't turn the company into anything. So, but you can still be proud of the games you ship and the learnings that you take. So then hence leading into this pivot, it's kind of a result of shipping fast and taking that risk and being okay with failing. The kind of thinking on Idle Coffee times, being fast to kind of change the direction, spotting these opportunities. At that time, 2018, Idle Games wasn't like a big successful category that the big companies would have gone to. I don't think Wooga or King or anyone even thought that this indie category is going to be kind of viable. So I do think kind of as a small company, you can be kind of spotting these emerging opportunities. Yeah. And that's been kind of my job in the industry already from Digital Chocolate days of figuring out what we do as a roadmap for games. What are the opportunities? What are the market trends on entertainment? So kind of keeping eyes open, spotting these opportunities, seeing kind of not going directly to the very center of the market at that point. This is one strategy. I think it's going to take longer to gradually build and go into something, take a risk that is Idle category, becoming something. And yeah, it had its go. I think we had kind of an experience in it, but it led also to a point where that category kind of wasn't supporting a future either.
Yeah, but that's also what the part is interesting about the journey of Starberry, because even at the time we didn't mention it. It was called Chatterbox. Yeah. And then you renamed it. Which year was that when you renamed Starberry?
It was at the same time, 2018, when we did the pivot. We had, I think, only about a month ago or something. It took a month to find a new name.
Yeah. What was the thought behind changing the name? Is it like even like an identity for a company?
Yeah, it's kind of this catharsis that you need to kind of be reborn in a way that
I love
it would tie the company into the chat games, messenger games. So
and in the numbers, if I'm getting my facts correctly, 10 million installs you had in the end. What were the stages after in terms of team size? I know you received a bit more funding that led to the game that we know of today, Merge Mayor, because even at the time, we were exploring merge games when Merge Mansion was a bit more, in the shadow, emerging, and we were several studios chasing this. So before Merge Mayor, what happened with that phase?
Yeah, we got to the launch with Boombit, so we didn't need to take care of the distribution. We kept our eyes open to learn what it does, what a publisher does, and what's kind of the operations. So when you're running a company, you kind of have, I would say, more curiosity for these things. So that was a great for us to, and they were super transparent and helpful. And so it was successful, like cooperation in terms of learning things. The game got launched. I think Boombit has all credit to them for the big featuring it got, and which kind of drove a lot of the downloads. I think most of the 10 million are organic downloads. So that's even another highlight. Yeah, we were maybe 6 people at the time. With Boombit, we were able to hire a few more. With the initial revenues from the game, I think the team was about 8 or so. And of course, then we did see the signs that, Idle Coffee, we can't do paid acquisition for it, or the publisher can't do it. And And so we kind of knew that we need to prepare something that we're going to self-publish next or build another game. So we started this in 2019 when the Idle Coffee had launched in May, and I think in the fall we started to think, okay, what's our next game? Let's go for Idle. Idle Village was the concept, and I think that's when we also did receive the $1 million in funding in the beginning of 2020. So again, kind of at the end of 2019, we were running out of runway with the team of 8, of which 4 were founders at that time, and luckily again I went to Slush and met
went to the sauna again.
This time I met Juuso from ByFounders and Eric, the partner at ByFounders, and the match was there. So good times at traveling into dark Helsinki and spontaneously finding the right kind of match. And of course, it's many people are helpful making intros and all of that. But with this funding, we then actually had then finally at 2020, 3 years after setting up the company, we had enough money in the bank to be I think we hired the team so that we were 10 people, and we were going to build the greatest Idle game, Idle Village.
So a few years later, we can look back, because as well for us, when we were launching Plantopia, trying to grow the game, it was very competitive for merge games at the time, and the model didn't make sense, at least at Voodoo, for the acquisition. But you are, like, a few years later, we see many have tried to be in the merge, catch the wave, because it was the new puzzle mechanic. And for all the puzzle makers like us, we had to try, right? But you are among the few as well that stayed with a game, live, operating. So how big is the team today working on the game? How is it growing? What are the challenges maybe?
Yeah, we're now 20 people. We have been almost 30 at time. So it is a rocky road to try to find success in the category. It is, as you said, very competitive. With 20, we're not now at kind of a break-even operation and looking to grow. So excited kind of about next year and what we can achieve. Challenges, it's the distribution and UA is something we don't have the DNA necessarily for. We've been learning a lot of everything about the live ops nowadays. It's been built over the last 2.5 years. So the amount of learnings for everyone in the team has been tremendous. But in terms that still remains the challenge to really compete against or in the category with these things. So both distribution from UA, creatives, and then also the live ops and monetization, which after you find the initial success, this is nowadays I would say the kind of key factor to build a business out of the game. You won't ship a game and it's ready at launch. It's kind of years of building from there.
Because I haven't been in touch with the merge market recently. How, at least as a choice for you as a company to keep pursuing this direction of at least the merge mechanic with MergeMaker, or maybe an iteration of the game? Or are you considering exploring? Because a signature I see from a company over 7 years, and this is where it's impressive, because it's again playing the long-term game. You could have stopped already at phase 1 and run out of cash and game over, right? But you've pivoted the company and survived, and I think this is like to the credit of the choice and being flexible. At which phase are you here? Is it more persisting in a direction, or also being open, who knows, in the future to not pivot, but consider different options? So the market is evolving.
Maybe it's 6 to 12 months ago, kind of, I went through the thinking process of where are we, what do we believe in, and it really takes like active thinking or time, and then we had discussions with Samir, and so we're now at the stage we believe in merge market. We at the moment it's of course there's a lot of competition, but in terms of the category, there's still more and more players. They're enjoying it. I think there's a lot of potential to kind of build. So we're happy to bet on the fact that merge is here to stay, and there's going to be a hit game for merge in 2024, and I think that's the kind of the question driving us, that what can we build as our next game with all the learnings we've had. Then I think there's there's something to be built. That's one. And I think that there's other parts then in terms of the whole industry, like many things are like you're constantly learning new things or kind of adapting to the situation. So I guess paid marketing, UA, acquisition was just brute force on that is a little bit less. The importance got a bit less. And I think there's kind of alternative distribution things and things that you kind of now need to consider and could be potentially the winning ways in the future. So we're really big on, of course, the merch category, but also building a lot of social things. So we, from the get-go of Merge Mayor, we had the community on Discord, and it's been amazing. The first time in 20 years in gaming for me to have a window to see the players discussing. And we're playing.
Yeah, that's right.
We're playing avidly ourselves as gamers, but seeing what they talk about, seeing that excitement and engagement, and this is the first time. So it's not just the data of how many players progressed a certain task or a mission or how many converted. Now we see much of the kind of color into why are they playing and what are they enjoying. And it's definitely keeping us very vulnerable for any updates we do, tweaks, balancing, nerfing, like we see and we'll hear the feedback. So that's great for mobile and casual. I think this probably has existed in other genres, but I've always been working on casual and mobile. So for me, this is really exciting that it's arrived in this category, because I don't know if there's a puzzle game that's doing it, but for Merge, this is really great. And that's now also materialized this year for Mayor, where we've shipped avatars, an avatar system, which is something that kind of you can use much more in the Discord, and it kind of helps with the whole social and community part of it. Tournaments that you compete with others, you see other players. I think the last update had social visits, that you're actually sending your avatar with a card to visit in other places, because in the city there's vehicles moving. Now they're actually real players of Merge Mayor that have, so you can see what others have equipped their avatar with, and this is only the beginning. So we'll build more social things, clubs and some co-op things that are in the works. This is my bet on the industry, that casual and the element of community social is something that's going to be kind of a key part for engagement. And then maybe there's a way to find how it helps you in acquisition or distribution. So kind of two themes, merge and how to build the next Merge game. And I guess it will need some novelty. It's been a bit stable for the last couple of years, very similar games, best practices, but that's the best way to learn. Build what's working, learn, and then start adding and modifying on top of that. Like respect for the ones who go for radical innovation right away, but that's very, very difficult. And
you have a limited number of bullets. But it sounds like a very unique as well take on your game. It's also very distinct from the other games, like by the look, but also like that world building, community building shared, which is very natural, I'd say, with a 3D world that is built. Like that was already, when I was playing it, the impression I had that it's a mini city, right? So there's the simulation part. I think it's really strong, and exploring this further to be a unique, I would say, product trait. I think it's really worth exploring. So I'm excited as well for you to see this grow even further. I have one last question, which is more like looking back, retrospective, because you talk about all those phases in such a serene way, like you have processed it, grieved it, I don't know. But I'm sure you had your very hard days where it's like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm not even sure if I should announce to the team one day that we have no money. If you can pin one moment over the past 7 years that was the hardest for you, and why was that? And looking back at it today, what do you take away from it? So if you could if you have a specific moment.
The layoffs we needed to do in February, end of this year, that's definitely kind of the process to getting there, the responsibility, because I'm looking at 6 to 12 months forward in terms of financial situation, and that's already coming from the early days of the company when we were always kind of not sufficiently like a resource for thinking beyond years or so. So I think that process, and it's not just the one kind of challenging day at work. It's kind of the point of forecasting of like, how's the business going? Because we grew the company, we had ambitions. Of course, we want to grow fast. We want to build more. We think we can do this with a bigger team. And then, of course, challenging market and everything. So processing that thought of, okay, what's the right choice here? How do we operate in the future? Luckily, of course, a lot of friends work in the industry, and they also are very honest about the situation. So I think at some point I heard the forecast that, no, this is not only 2022 that will be challenging. This is 2 years that the market's now down. That's like, you really need to plan for a long time of less exciting period in terms of financial market. So having these inputs and then going into the thinking, okay, what are our goals? What can we impact ourselves? Can we hold this to ourselves to keep the full team? We had great people, of course, kind of like attached to a lot of the personalities and all of this. And then just kind of slowly seeing that the results don't match what I need to see, making the calculations, and then coming to the point of decision that, yeah, this is inevitable. We're responsible for making this decision of reducing the team. And I would say, having seen it kind of done at Wooga as well, so I assume that's one of the most challenging moments for Jens as well, because it was such a great ride and a lot of party up until the point until like you're burning more money than what you're making, and the bank account is draining. So that responsibility, because I think for a founder that comes earlier, you're responsible for thinking through so that it doesn't surprise you, or you do it too late, or all of these. So admitting to yourself that we're not, like, there's no silver bullet, we're not going to hit these targets. But of course, kind of having set those targets before, following the trends, doing everything we can so that we could make it turn, and still seeing that, okay, no, this is now the right choice. And already at that point, of course, kind of it's then challenging to implement and do the action. But for me, it was way more challenging, the kind of process of leading into the admission that, okay, or admitting the fact that, okay, this is now inevitable. Yeah. This is the right choice. I need to make this. And luckily, of course, it wasn't only me, but I guess first I needed to process a lot of it myself.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing. And I take a key word here that I think it is what I would expect from, I don't know, my CEO or a founder, responsibility, because you are responsible for, employees, for what you're building, even to your investors, of what you are promising or announce to deliver. And when there's the reality check, is also taking the responsibility of a hard decision to make, at least to get there. And it's never a black or white situation. Also reflecting on what Jens shared previously, which I'm sure as well as you processed, in the moment, it feels like you are displeasing probably a certain number of people, but the result of not doing it is like the whole group, and it could be even more. And I'm here, like I said, it's investors, even like a community or your audience. So much more the cost, the long-term cost is much higher. So it's very hard. Although in the moment, it must feel probably very difficult.
Yeah, it's unpleasant, and your true character is kind of tested at this time as well, and the way you handle things. So I guess a lot of the way you behave, the way you implement it, so I take pride in the fact that we always kind of want to keep there's business and then there's kind of human relationships. Yeah. So we're still in great terms with all former Starberry alumni people, and that's kind of a thing to strive for, that treat people with respect and part with in good terms, even in difficult times. So that's a learning experiences and things that you kind of can learn at unfortunate situations. But there's always a vision of the ideal way, that someone who's done this in a perfect fashion, or kind of the way that you would self-imagine that this is done the proper way. So striving for that.
Like you said, this is a test of true character, and as a testament, having known you for that long and having worked with you, I'm still here. So that's the long-term game as well with people, because we are people in business as well. So I'm very glad to hear how thoughtful you were and also taking it seriously, because it is a serious matter as well. And it's sometimes inevitable for a business, and that's just also part of a business, but how we do it actually makes a big difference. It's not if we do it or not, it's more how we do it.
Yeah, well said.
Thanks a lot, Antti, for all the wisdom, resilience. I think you're a pivoting master, but like for me, the thing I hope that you and your team can take pride of today is really surviving, the years and phase really of startup, because that's the game. It's not just succeeding on the first shot. You can, and you're lucky, but it's, surviving long enough until you find and get better over time. So it's progress over time.
Yeah, of course, time has value. So but as long as you keep on learning and going forward, then it's kind of it should be kind of the right thing. Sometimes you wish it's a bit faster, but you said it well. I think one of my dear investors said that the characteristic of me and the company is that we refuse to die.
Yeah, and it's a good, I would say, skill to have in a market that is that volatile at the moment. And
it's at value. A couple of years ago at the boom times, it's maybe not the
but
thing.
Being at the right time, right place with the right team, this is what we were talking about. But you have to be there. Yeah,
I think that's my view on luck. If you're persistent enough, it will hit you.
Yes.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Antti. Bye, everyone. See you the next time. Thanks for listening to this latest episode of the Rise and Play podcast. I am growing a community of conscious leaders across the industry and beyond. If you want to join this movement, please share the podcast with other conscious leaders, because we have so much more we can learn from each other. If you've enjoyed this episode, please follow and rate the show on Spotify or your other favorite podcast platform. It will help other growing leaders to discover the show and benefit from the valuable insights. If you would like to grow rapidly your leadership skills, you can find more insights on riseandplay.io, where you will also find my free masterclass on conscious leadership and other resources that I offer. Have a great week, and remember to take care of yourself. Until the next time.